Walls. I'm Ken Walls, and I'm your host. And I have a gentleman joining me today, all the way from Seattle, Washington. His name is Sande Golgart, and I'm pretty sure I said that right. Just stay with us. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Let's bring Sande on. Sande, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ken. Great to be here.
Appreciate you coming on, man. Getting up extra early out there in Seattle. Just
my pleasure.
It's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So we already have some people joining us on the live stream. So Sande, I created this show about 2.5 years ago. I've interviewed over 300 celebrities and entrepreneurs. And you know, the entire theme of this show is your life story and how you've overcome challenges and setbacks and busted through and broke through those walls that were trying to hold you back. So that's what this is about, to help people by hearing your story. So why don't we start with where you were born and raised?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Denver, Colorado.
Nice.
Grew up, spent my whole young life out in Colorado. Went to the University of Colorado, played basketball there for 4 years. Got married shortly after college, and then after a vacation down to Mexico in a hotel on the water, we came back, felt very landlocked, and we said, at this point in time, we really should figure out how to live by the water. And we put our house on the market, jumped in a U-Haul on a specific date. Our house fortunately sold 2 days before we left. We drove out to Seattle, and now we live right here on Alki Beach.
Wow. Had you been to Seattle?
We had. We actually looked in Northern California, Southern California, and Seattle. We had a 1-year-old at the time. It was somewhere between being incredibly brave and incredibly stupid. But we made it work. We had family here on my wife's side. Very accommodating, loving family, very supportive. So it made it really easy for us. Wow.
So Seattle, by the way, we talked a little bit before the show started. I used to live out there. I lived out there for a year, and wow, what a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful area. And you know, the year I was out there, Sande, I was like, I thought it rained all the time. Everybody's like, it rains. It didn't rain at all, like hardly at all. And people are like, yeah, we the people that are from here, we started that rumor to keep people away.
Well, I think there's some truth to that. I think when the sun is out, it's the most beautiful place in the world.
It is amazing. It really is.
There are 4 to 5 months where they really make you appreciate it when the sun does come back out.
Yeah.
And you definitely learn to appreciate it.
You do. Yeah. Those are the winter months, right?
That's right.
Fall through winter kind of ish.
It gets dark at about 4:15 in the afternoon.
That was crazy. Yeah. I found that a little bit crazy.
But it's an amazing place.
It is. So and you know, off the coast of Seattle, am I saying that right? Off the coast of Seattle, you can see whales once in a while out there.
You can see them a couple 100 feet from our house. There's a pod of killer whales that actually live right here in the Puget Sound that travel up and down. And to my surprise, as I learned about it, they actually travel and migrate more in the winter than they do in the summer through this channel. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's so beautiful out there. So, well, there's recently been some events that maybe lessened its beauty a little bit, but we won't go too far down.
It's a little chaotic at the moment, but we'll get through it.
Yeah. So you grew up in Denver, which is another beautiful city. What was it like for you growing up out there? And were you a Broncos fan?
So growing up in Denver was amazing.
Yeah.
But you talk about early setbacks, or early challenges. Try growing up in the schoolyard with the first name Sandy and red hair. That gets you started, right? It's like
You learn how to fight early.
yeah, or at least defend yourself.
Right.
So I remember early on, I heard things on the news about people like Sandy Grossman, who did football broadcasting, and then Sandy Koufax. And I said, wow, man, all these famous people who do really great things, their first name's Sandy. I must be destined to do really great things. And I just made up my mind that, so that's what I'm going to do. And of course, awesome. Yes, I'm a Broncos fan, and we have endured, so much, but yet achieved so much at the same time. One of the few franchises that have won 3 Super Bowls, very few that have won back-to-back, the highest of highs and the absolute lowest of lows. Maybe not the lowest of lows, but some pretty low moments, especially in Super Bowls.
As a kid, I got a for whatever reason, my mom got me a Denver Broncos starter coat, winter coat.
Yeah.
And by the way, my buddy Glenn Morshower, I don't know if you know who he is, but he's a redhead too. He played Agent Aaron Pierce on the TV show 24 for 7 years. He's in Atlanta filming for a current show called The Resident. He's
great.
on The Resident, but anyway, he's a redhead too, so he can relate.
I'll probably see him at the annual meeting.
But anyway, so I had this Denver Broncos jacket, and I thought, well, I got the jacket. I can remember I was like 6 or 7 years old. I don't know. I was like, I got the jacket, so I guess I'm a fan. And then something happened, and I became a Steelers fan at a young age, and I've never changed back. So
yeah. Well, I'm not to know what years those were, but there were a lot of things to like about the Steelers back then.
It was in the 70s.
Yeah. They were great.
They were look, I grew up with and red hair. Oh my God, that's funny. So yeah, I think redheads are destined to do great things, especially with the first name of Sandy. So you grew up in Denver. You went. Did you go to college there?
Yeah, University of Colorado. Played basketball there for 4 years. Then graduated before we moved to Seattle.
Did I see a Google article about you winning some kind of something? What was it I saw? I have to go.
Could have been the National Slam Dunk Championship.
That was it
in high school. Yeah.
Did you win it?
I did.
Dude, how tall are you?
6'5".
Wow. You won the National Slam Dunk Championship.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, at Texas Tech University.
Oh my gosh, man. Wow.
One of the only things I like to remember about being in Lubbock, Texas was winning that particular event. And I still have people that come up to me or will find me online and say that they were there and strike up a conversation. And I just turned 48 2 weeks ago. And my promise to myself is that I will still be able to dunk after 50. So I had to go out in the backyard in the cold rain and throw one down really quick and get it on film and make sure someone was there with the tape measure just to validate and make sure I wasn't using camera tricks.
Wow. So you can still dunk?
Yeah, as of 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
I haven't done it today.
Listen, man, when you hit 50, the body starts doing some weird things, man. You better keep practicing.
It's already started.
Yeah. So you went to, what did you major in college besides basketball?
So I majored went to the business school there and majored in marketing. Okay.
And you got out and you immediately were recruited by the NBA?
Yeah. And I actually had a deal to go play professional basketball down in Brazil.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know if you are a fan of Seinfeld, but George had the Summer of George planned. Well, I grew up in Colorado, big skier, loved to ski, got out of college where you couldn't really ski during the season. It was forbidden. And I said, this is the one winter I'm going to go up to the mountains. I got 2 brand new pairs of skis. Couldn't wait to get back out.
Oh,
First
no.
day, first snow, October 16th, really early. We hiked up to the top of Pike, or not Pikes Peak, but the divide.
Yeah.
Right, the Continental Divide. Went from the ice glacier to the fresh snow in early October, which is very wet, very heavy. Blew out my knee, and had to slide to the bottom on my back, carrying both of my skis just to get back to the car and get home. So that was the winter of Sandy, and it was not very long.
Oh man! So
Yeah.
the whole Brazil thing went down the mountain, so to speak.
But that's okay.
Glenn says he dunked a basketball on his 60th birthday, and then the alarm clock went off. So wow. So what I mean, what went through your head? What happened? I mean, obviously that killed the Brazilian deal, right?
Killed the Brazilian deal. And, you know, most everything works out, you know, in the end. But
yeah,
I went back, saw the trainers at the University of Colorado, who were fantastic. They tested it, said, look, you blew it out. You need to do surgery tomorrow. So I did it, rehabbed, called the guy back a year later, told him I'd fully rehabbed, was ready to come down there. And he said, you could be somewhat glad you didn't come down. The team folded. Everyone was stuck here, had to get plane tickets home.
Oh, geez.
You know, and at that time, you know, professional basketball players down there were making like $50,000 US cash. So, you know, it was a decent deal, but it wasn't like the NBA or anything like that. So you could made it home, but it was not meant to be.
Wow. What I mean, so I like this because you had to have had some sort of an identity of I'm a national slam dunk champion here, played through college, and now it's time to move on to the NBA. It just seems like a logical order of things. So that didn't happen. I'm gonna just assume that the NBA didn't pursue you.
No. It was so difficult to make it to that level. I played with a guy, Donnie Boyce, at the University of Colorado, who did go on play for the Atlanta Hawks and then the Harlem Globetrotters. But that is such a select few who get to do that. And so no, that wasn't even on my radar. My radar was to play hard, be on the floor, start for 4 years. When I knew I wasn't going any further to, you know, NBA type aspirations, I started to focus on business, got obsessed with business books, finance, and just kind of turned that passion around and focused on other things. And the beauty and the crossover and where the two come together for me is in teamwork and leadership. And I've been on some great teams that we've won national championships, and I've been on teams that finished last. And there's a very distinct difference between the culture, teamwork, the goals that people believe in, and then the sacrifice people on that collective team are willing to make to get there. And one of the things I talk about a lot with teams that I'm on or participate in is everyone says they want to win the championship. Everybody likes to aspire to that. Very few people want to do what it actually takes. Yeah. And it never just happens. And, you know that probably as well as anybody. You have to go put in the work, do what it takes, make the sacrifices, and then success follows.
Yeah. After a lot of sacrifice and pain.
Yeah. And you have to enjoy the sacrifice and embrace the pain.
Yeah.
You know, I think you have to like that and know, you know, it's like a great workout or a great bike ride or a great hike. It's not easy. None of it's easy. And you have to internalize that the pain or the fight, the adversity is part of the fun. And if you don't embrace that, I think it's very hard to make it to the top of anything.
Great show. Thanks for stopping by. I mean, it sums it up, man. That's so true.
Yeah.
And people don't, I mean, well, I could go into a diatribe about hiring people. I won't do that right now, because you've been there, man. Like you know that the hiring people sometimes in today's world is a little bit challenging.
That's an understatement.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, it's incredibly difficult to find people with proven track record, the right culture for what you're trying to accomplish, the work ethic, the willingness to make sacrifice, and then to agree with and share in, I guess not necessarily agree with, but to share in your vision and where you want to go, and be willing to make the sacrifices we talked about earlier. That it's very, very difficult to do that. And then it's very difficult to not only make a business successful, but to bring people on, ensure that as you're mixing the pot and building a team and bringing in great people, that it's being successful, that people are embracing challenges and not getting involved in locker room chat, about, I wish this was easier. My buddy said it's easier over here. If you work at this company, they pay for this, they do your laundry, you could go to the thing, and maybe we should go there, they make more money. I mean, it has to be the number one challenge everybody faces.
They do your laundry. Oh my God. Are there companies that actually do their employees' laundry?
Well, I toured the Facebook campus, and you could literally live there. They have sleeping pods. You have dry cleaning, any kind of food that you want. I mean, it feels like the main street of Disneyland. Anyone who ever gets an opportunity to tour, it's fascinating to do the tour just to be able to see, a company, can accomplish those kind of things and do that for their people. And then you want to talk about the war for talent. They have buses that will drive out to people's houses, bring them in on the express lane so that their commute works, and they've got Wi-Fi on the bus. And those companies down there, because there's so many incredible companies and they're all vying for the best talent, and that's the only real way to get ahead, they'll do anything and everything to make it happen. It's fascinating.
My buddy Charles Coachman that's on here, he's a realtor down in the Silicon Valley.
He knows.
Yeah, he knows. Joe Ingram lives in Southern California. He knows too. In California, you can't call a previous employer and get information about their performance or attitude. Wow. That it's I don't know, some can you imagine, like, in college telling your coach, the only way I'm playing for this team is if y'all are willing to do my laundry?
No. I've had some people I played with where I wish they did their laundry for them. It's a whole different topic.
I mean, let's talk about I'm just going to call it the I better not. Facebook might shut me down here. But it seems like there's a lot of, we've created a culture that some of these companies have a culture that's really, I don't know, creating a handout society almost. Like,
I agree with you 100%. And I think, one of the things that everyone, I think, also has to embrace, none of those things are possible if the business isn't working, right? No one's business plan started with cafeteria free food. Nobody's business plan started with, I'll do your dry cleaning for you. That's my business, unless you own a dry cleaner. All those things are to ensure the business is successful. And I think that is a key thing that everyone has to keep in mind. And I think, there's always that there's always a bit of a danger, whether it's with a company or a society, a city, when you lose sight of the hard work that needs to happen, and you shift that to things should be easy. That to me is an immediate red flag. Nothing I've ever done that I appreciated the most was ever easy. There's always a degree of adversity. There's always a degree of pain. And it's what makes you appreciate when things are better. And I think, that's a difficult thing, I think, to talk about, and get everyone on the same page with, because right now, especially, tensions are so high everywhere. It's very difficult just to center on that. But, going through some things, having some adversity and coming out better is a good thing. And that takes all different shapes and all different forms. But it's also true, with the businesses. You have to have something that works, and early on, Amazon has the most amazing campus in the world. Early on, they had a tiny little retail spot on 2nd Avenue in downtown Seattle, and they had doors as desks on cinder blocks.
Right.
It wasn't that company. They didn't start as being, their goal wasn't to have these global cubes sitting out and free food and all these other great things that they do. It was, how do we become the best at what we do? And they made tons of sacrifices. It's a great place and a very difficult place to work. I know many people who work there, and it's a business first, mindset. Yeah. And they run it as efficiently as I've seen any business run it.
I think, I don't know if you've read Tony Hsieh's book on the founder of Zappos, or no. Is Tony Hsieh, Zappos? Am I right?
The shoe company in Vegas?
Yeah. Isn't it Tony Hsieh? I think, I don't remember. Anyway, I have the book. I should remember that. But because he's got the Pod City in Vegas. Like he's got all the tiny houses set up, and it's a little, we lived out in Vegas for almost a year, or about a year. And it's interesting, he's created and he's a great guy too. And he's just created this amazing culture. And you said that a little bit ago about culture, that it does start with culture. So what do you see some of these, what do you see? And Seattle is, it's not, I'm just going to be real, man. It's not like Ohio.
That's very real.
It's completely different than Ohio. But what do you see happening as far as across the globe? What are companies doing right to build cultures and become successful?
Okay, I think that companies like sports franchises, like organizations, any kind of reform, they start with the goal, right? Nobody's goal is to build a good culture, right? But great cultures happen because you have like-minded people who are talented, who want to contribute, they want to make sacrifices, and they have passion for delivering the ultimate result. And that passion can be, we want to make the most money. And the right people come together from all walks of life that really want that. They come together, and for that purpose, they have a great culture. You have other people who are like, we really want to help solve this problem in this foreign country. And you get the right people who are passionate about that come together, want to make sacrifice and do what's necessary, and they have a great culture. Probably two very different cultures, but very similar in the same way, the passion and what they aspire and want to deliver. And I think companies that do that and they stay true to that, I think one of my favorite books I was introduced to from another gentleman who's now in Las Vegas, Tim Sanders, was authenticity. And I think authenticity, the companies who are doing it best have authentic product, authentic value proposition, and authentic delivery of that. So if they say they're going to do something, they say they are something, it's transparent, they do it, and they have however many people, it could be 2, 3, it could be 30,000 people behind them who share that and are working hard to deliver that. That to me is, I guess, the best summary of culture. And, I saw this too. And one of the things that will tell you what your culture is when the tide goes out, right? They say, well, COVID moved the tide out for all of us. And with our parent company, Allied Modular, down in Orange County, California, we're a small division within that. But to see the way the people rallied, and our goal through that was, we don't know the extent of this. We don't know how bad it's going to be, but we want to keep everyone employed. That was our number one goal. We want to make sure we take care of each other. And then to do that, we have to make sure the business continues to move forward. And we set up with each division accountability, and made sure everyone was bought into that as the purpose. And that got rid of a lot of different anxieties, or kind of brought things to the surface so everyone could talk about them. Everyone could deal about what they were fearful of, what they were excited about, where they thought they could help, where they may have some fear, but everything got brought out so everything could be dealt with and not remain under the surface. And we, as a company, my company, Zones, we create freestanding modular suites, which is great for a booming economy. When you've got open floor plans, people need different work environments. It's fantastic. When there's a pandemic that hits and everybody leaves the office, being in secondary construction isn't necessarily the best place to be. And we had to rally internally and say, okay, if we're going to be a part of this solution, what do we need to do? So we did a lot of research day and night, very late nights, very early mornings, and we found out where companies needed to be met. And there were two things post-COVID that had to happen. The first was, you have to find ways to separate people both by distance and with barriers. And companies are also needing to filter the air. If you think about air in the workspace, it's the most shared resource you have among anything else, right?
Yeah.
So if that's the case, you need something that blocks and filters the air. We brought that back to our engineers who have been doing clean room technology for 30 years, really bright individuals. And they said, look, the thing that's going to be wrong when people come back to work is with HVAC and other things, you're not protecting the space between people. That air is still shared. It might make its way up into the ductwork at some point, but you need something that blocks. So we came up with and created the Clean Zones panel, which I would invite anyone listening in or that tunes into this to go to www.cleanzones.com to check it out. It's a truly innovative solution, and it's the only solution in the world right now that will actually provide blocking through a desk panel, and it has air filtration with UVC light, HEPA filtration built right into it. And it's doing amazing things for helping companies who need to get back to work. You have call centers and others that truly need to get back to work right now. And they want to do it, but their first priority is keeping their people safe. So how do they do both? What's the and? How do I do this and how do I do that? And so bringing people back and keeping them safe by working with Clean Zones. We have tons of companies across the country who are able to do that and do it in a smart, responsible way where they can bring people back in waves, keep them separated, ensure the air is clean before it gets shared. It's pretty amazing.
Let's back up a little bit and talk about, let's go back to when you got out of college, you got injured, you went through the surgery, recovery, all that. What was the first thing that you did professionally? Like, what was the first job you had? Did you immediately start out as the CEO of something?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. The CEO, I learned really hard. I don't know if you could still see how sharp my teeth are from being cut. I went into life insurance business. No salary. Eat what you kill.
Yeah.
I did that for 3 years. And like I said, we talked a lot about culture and different things. That taught me some of the best lessons I've ever learned. And it was tough. I look back on it and go, God, why would you do that? Why would you have this great network and go to work where you don't even get paid, right? You don't even negotiate a base salary. No. But I at the time became enamored with other things about it. And I thought, There were some interesting aspects. I learned a ton, and I learned that you do have to work exceptionally hard, and you have to be authentic, and you have to deliver something for value if you want to eat. And so for 3 years, and with the 1-year-old and my wife, that was the only option we had. And that's a good way to learn. That's part of embracing, adversity, I think. Then I realized how much I didn't like what I was doing.
Right. That was Denver?
That was Denver.
Yeah. And then, so you did that for a few years. Where did you go from there? I mean, and look, I mean, that is tough, man. And you're also learning, you better learn how to sell along the way too, right?
Very tough. And you think about the companies we were talking about who do your laundry for you.
Yeah.
This company, we would fly back to your annual meeting as a 23, 24-year-old, and they made you pay.
Yeah.
Out of your own pocket to come to the company meeting.
Yeah.
And people buy into that culture. So that's a culture very different from Facebook, but
sure,
it works for them. They're a wonderful 5-star rated company. I can't say anything negative about them. It just wasn't right for me.
Right.
So anyway, we fell in love with the idea of living by the water, decided that was our primary goal and objective. We all bought into that. You hauled our way out. And then it was like, now how do I make it? I knew I could work hard. I knew I could outwork the person next to me. So I got, any job that I could and just said, I'm going to go work harder than anybody else. So I was in the office with Sprint at the time. This was back when we were selling frame relay. The internet was just kind of coming out.
Wow.
It was an amazing time. And selling long distance. Remember that?
That was MCI Sprint, wasn't it? Wasn't it?
Sprint at the time. But again, it was one of those things that really made you kind of cut your teeth on sales. And so I committed to being in the office before all the gossipers got into the office and started chit-chatting. And then I was out the door. I'd made my 3 appointments and I was out the door when they were coming in. And that just kind of bred. So I went to work with Quest, which is a great Denver company back at the time, and then got into the startup world and just kind of grew it from there. I finally landed at the end of the .com crunch. I thought I should go into real estate. That sounds like a great place to be. That no matter what happens, that will be good. So I got into commercial real estate right when the bottom of commercial real estate. It was in Seattle, and the bottom just tanked, which again taught me so many different great lessons making it through that. And I'll tell anybody, especially that's listening today, who might, need to hear this, but that is the best time to earn advancement, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people run the other way, but that's when your company needs you the most. And I advanced more during that downturn from 2002 to 4 than I have ever since. I went from kind of an account executive to area vice president, regional vice president, and just assumed all the responsibility and kind of said, hey, let's put this on my shoulders.
And this was in real estate?
Yeah, it was through a company at the time called HQ Global Workplaces, which is a shared office group. Yep. They had the largest at the time, about 450 locations. This is way pre WeWork and that sort of thing. Then they were acquired by Regus. And because of that, Regus is by far, IWG, the largest provider in the world. They've got nearly 5,000 locations. And so throughout that whole time, I had worked to do everything I could to help lead from the front, right? Not follow and gossip and do those kind of things. And it was rewarded when Regus purchased HQ. There were 18 vice presidents all sitting in the same room across the US. And there were only going to be 3 that survived that acquisition. Wow. And I was the only one on the small fish side who got acquired to make it through that in that same level and capacity. And then had a great 16-year career with that company.
With Regus?
With Regus.
Wow.
Regus.
Yeah, I know who Regis is. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
That's impressive.
yeah. That
And
was
then did they fire you?
thankfully not.
I'm
They
kidding.
probably resisted every temptation for 16 years, but somehow
You
I
made it
I
through.
was faster than the person next to me.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
but no, I got to a point there where, and this is just my own personality. I felt like I could do the job with my eyes closed. I launched something new, which was their corporate workspace as a service initiative. We signed up incredible clients like Verizon, and I won't go into what we did for them, but we saved them millions of dollars on their real estate by getting rid of wasted space. Unused space is the most expensive space in your real estate
Yeah.
portfolio. So we gave them where they were just going to pay for exactly what they were using, right, when they needed it, and eliminate the unused, unoccupied space. Launched that. Really wanted the company to embrace that as a model. There was some fear internally about maybe that would skew and kind of put us too much at risk. And we just kind of got into this dead zone for about a year. And I just was like, I got to do something. I can't just sit and collect a check and not really grow this. And I found some other opportunities and with some great people and have learned a ton since then. And now being at Zones and a part of Allied Modular, really helping to help people make the construction process easier and be able to build and make that easy. Anyone who's tried to build understands how difficult it is to get a project done. And, you know, Allied and Zones, we've done a lot to really make that process easy.
So it doesn't sound like you were one of the people in the occupy that zone of Seattle.
No. No, I value my life too much to be a part of that. That was just insane. I mean, all the way around.
That was crazy, man. Yeah. So no, I'm kidding. You said I couldn't just sit around and collect a check and not do anything for it. But so you don't own the company then? I for some reason I thought you owned it.
Partial owner.
Okay.
Ownership, yeah. But it is a division of a larger company.
Gotcha. Out of
which
Orange
I'm very
County.
thankful for. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And so how long have you been doing that?
So I came on board last July.
Okay.
This division was not getting off the ground the way the CEO wanted it to. Yeah. And we came in, did some basic things, some fundamental things, got centered on what we really wanted to be.
Yeah.
And then had an incredible end to last year, a terrific run rate heading into this year, really good 3 first months, and then COVID hit and we had to find a way to adapt, reinvent ourselves, get focused on where companies wanted to be made. The interesting thing is we didn't try to force anything on anybody. We went out and learned where companies were being headed, what the real issues were, and then figured out how to use what we did to find something creative, innovative, that was authentic. And that's how we came up with Clean Zones.
So tell me though, in layman's terms, I guess, try to explain for the average listener or viewer here, break it down as simple as you can. What do you guys do exactly?
As Zones?
Yeah.
So Zones, we manufacture and build prefabricated freestanding suites or rooms. So whether you want a phone booth in an open floor plan so you can have privacy, whether it's visual and or acoustical privacy to make a phone call, you know, when you're sitting in a benching situation and you've got everybody right around, you might not want them listening into your phone call with a doctor or a problem your child might be having at school, or a really important sales call or an amazing podcast you got invited to. You might want to go and take that in one of the phone booths. And then we have conversation rooms, collaboration rooms, bigger meeting rooms, all of which you can order and have installed in just a couple of hours. And it's all pre-wired, UL approved, fully furnished meeting room and collaboration spaces.
So, but who does it, Like you just show up and drop this in the middle of a field?
No, in an open office.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, office space.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
I was thinking, okay, in case Superman needs an extra phone booth in the so, but the so I'm trying to think where that would apply. I've only been in. I was in New York, a company that I'm partnered with in New York in Manhattan, and they have a WeWork space,
Yeah.
and Joe Soto needs one of those phone booths in his home, right? So here's a great question from my wife: does it have to be interior?
It doesn't have to be, but our parent company handles exterior. They do, like, if you go to the Facebook campus, by the way, and you look at the guard shacks, the people who check you in as you're coming in and out, Allied Modulars built those, and they built exterior rooms, negative pressure rooms, all sorts of things, 2-story spaces. So,
Wow. So like, for example, I was in the WeWork office in New York, and I forget which floor. It's way up in this skyrise building, but
yeah.
And they had, it seems like they had things like that,
Absolutely.
but they had these little, it was almost like a this one part was almost like a Denny's. Like you would have these meetings in these little cubby things, and it was, I thought, weird a little bit, quite
Yeah,
frankly.
it's it depends on the style that people like to work in. But again, if you think of the open office, the reason the open office exists, just really quick, 15 years ago, designers were planning for 250 square feet per person, right? If you multiply that times market rents, San Francisco, $85 a foot.
Wow.
That's a big number. So if you can take that and get that down to 65 square feet per person, you're going to win big time on your balance sheet.
Yeah.
So that's what companies did. So they created an open floor plan. That's how it was. A lot of people disguised it as collaboration and other things, right? But
yeah, right.
The reason people sit right next to each other is not to collaborate. It's because finance said, we're giving you a third of the space we used to give you, but you'll love it. It's called collaboration.
Yeah.
So that's how it got there. That's why it's probably not going to ever revert back. You won't see people spending that kind of money on office space. You'll see office space shrink. You'll see more efficient uses and better division, and probably a lot of clean zone panels. Yeah. But so in that, what people learned really quick is they oversold the collaboration. People didn't have privacy. They couldn't get their work done. And different workers work differently. Some people need privacy. Some people thrive in chaos. They put their headphones on, they crunch away, and they could care less how close they are or what's around them. And they're just in the zone. Other people can't concentrate. They can't get anything done. They can't do any cognitive thinking with all this distracting. So the best companies provide their people with the right space, the right atmosphere, and the right tools to do the job that they need when they need to do it for the period of time in which it takes to do that job well. So that might be at an open desk for half the day. It might be inside a phone booth for an hour or two with some sales calls. It might then be in a collaboration room with your team to check on status and updates. And then it might be off to a Zoom call, and then in the cafeteria to celebrate a big win. But having the right place to do the work that you need to do when you need to do it is the key to any productive workspace environment. So where we come into play with that is some people need privacy. Some people need collaboration, but they don't need it all the time. And if you look at the studies and the statistics, the utilization rates of these shared rooms that we provide are almost 2 times more occupied than a personal desk that belongs to that one person. Why? Because they don't need to sit there all day. They need to do other things. But when they're gone, that's wasted, really expensive office space that somebody's paying for that's not used very often. So when you can walk into a phone booth that's shared by 16 other people, it's easy to pop in and out, and you'll find those are the most occupied resources on the floor. And that's what companies are learning. And that's what's created this massive shift and this movement in the commercial office environment, is this move towards modular furniture, because it's also ever adapting. If you think of a company like Microsoft, they have over 100 buildings on their campus alone in Redmond, Washington, 100 physical buildings just to do the upkeep and the maintenance and renovation and TI work. That means they have to do, every 7 years, they have to do a massive amount of those buildings, 10 to 15 of them. But that means 85 of them are left not updated. And so
Wow.
you have some very dated buildings that, just because of how difficult it is to do the construction, do everything else, and those teams are changing. They're in tech. It's very fluid.
Yeah.
And so they have to find ways of keeping up, and flexible, what we call phase 2 construction, and bringing modular offices into the workplace allow you to keep up. You can do that in a couple of weeks with a few hours, no disruption, no dirt, no mess. And you leave on a Friday, come back on a Monday, and your whole office has changed. You have all these cool modular places to go work.
And you guys, so I would imagine that when COVID hit and the lockdown occurred and the all of the insanity that has ensued since then, you guys were probably like, everybody's working from home now and really don't need our rooms. I would imagine, like, and there, I truly believe there's still going to be a hybrid version of that. And I'm sure, I can't even imagine the conversations you guys have had. Like, that changed everything.
Oh yeah. I mean, the statistics are different cities are anywhere from 12% to 35% back to work.
Yeah.
So that's the flip side of that is, 65 to 85% not in the office. And you go to downtown Seattle, everything's boarded up. It's very dead.
Wow.
And it's kind of a scary time. It feels like, Armageddon, and just, feels uneasy. Suburban is way different. Like, so people are not willing to go into very crowded spaces. They're not willing to use shared public transportation nearly as much, but they still want an office. They still need an escape. They need the ability to do the work that they need to do in an environment that's conducive. So they are finding, and if you look at the research that IWG puts out, their suburban offices are thriving. Their occupancy is going up. More people are coming in and taking office space. It's getting people into downtown that is proven to be a bit of a challenge. So paying attention to those things means it's just the needle is moving. Who needs our stuff? Where they need it? That part's changing. We were putting stuff into downtown, like crazy. That's where everybody was. That's where everyone was building these amazing campuses. Now nobody's there, or very few. 25%.
So you're like, so you guys, I really don't like the word pivot, but you pivoted a little bit. You said, wait, instead of closing up shop, which would be an option, I would imagine. I mean, what else do you do? But so you decided, well, why don't we look at how we can create environments that where we're cleaning the air?
Well, I think a really important thing that we did, and this is why I think the Clean Zones has been as successful as it has, is we didn't try to think what we could force onto people.
Right.
We spent a good month trying to figure out what people needed and what they were going to need on the back end of this. And that became really clear in the research that people needed a way to help divide, physically divide, not the way division's happening in other places, but how can we physically divide and with space divide people and de-densify workstations? And then how do you clean the air? And we knew that those were two big challenges. We also knew that HVAC was going to be very difficult to address these problems. And you had to find something that would address the clean air at the source. Then we said, let's go figure out how to solve this problem. We did very rapid prototyping, tons of testing, a lot of late nights, early mornings, that kind of thing, and then launched the product with great success in July. But the upshot of that for our core business, if you will, is that it allowed us to take a deeper look at how could we improve our freestanding suites. One of the biggest problems in freestanding modular suites is the air, right? So by helping other people solve a problem that they need, we then take a step back and said, we actually helped ourselves equally. We're now the only provider who can put an air filtration unit mounted inside those suites so that you keep the air fresh. It smells clean and crisp. It's constantly being recycled and filtered, and you can stay in there longer, and you can make sure your cognitive thinking isn't suffering because you're using, stale air.
Right.
So it's helped us improve our core offering tremendously.
Yeah, I remember, again, back to the WeWork thing where I was in New York. They had these something similar to what you're talking about, as far as like conference meeting rooms, and they were kind of sealed off little pods, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know what you refer to them as, but so you guys, your company, I mean, you shifted, you saw and you looked at, okay, well, this is going to be a problem. So how do we adapt and still provide a viable solution?
Right. But yeah, I think, how do we help people? So one of the things that we had tremendous experience with our engineers. We're building clean room technology, which is keeping rooms as disease-free as they need to be and as clean as they need to be for the work that needs to be done. There's nobody better to go to ask, how do we help people in this situation? And they basically told us, you've got to get at the source. You have to create the barrier. You have to create something that's then going to clean the air before it's shared. And by listening, it really helped us get that much further ahead in a much quicker time.
Yeah.
If I tried to say what the world needed, boy, we'd be in trouble, and I probably wouldn't be talking to you today.
Right.
We really had to take the time to listen and do the research.
Wow. So things are going well then?
Yeah, things are great. We're hiring. I mean, I saw some people from Atlanta tuning in. We're actually looking in the Southeast. We're looking in the West. And, we feel like to some extent the world is on fire a bit. We're selling buckets of water, and we need more and more people to know about it and how we can use that to really help them be productive, be safe, and establish some more.
Uh-oh. I lost Sandy. Don't know what happened. Well, I don't know what just happened. If he comes back, we'll bring him back in. But I believe his internet may have taken a dive out there in Seattle. Well, that stinks. But we were at the end of it anyway. So I'll pop up Sandy's website, www.cleanzones.com. Make sure you go check it out and follow Sandy. I'm connected with Sandy on LinkedIn, so follow him at least on LinkedIn. And I guess we're gonna wrap it up with that. He's gone, so I think his internet just dumped. But so cleanzones.com. Look up Sande, Sande Golgart, Golgart. Look him up on LinkedIn and follow him. And I will see you all tomorrow. Have a great day. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.